Compliance, safety, you know, again, number one. Every single grow in Colorado has to be in a safe area, so if you're storing product. When we were working up, or visiting the guys up in Tilray in Canada, we were amazed how over-regulated they were. Canada is a very liberal place, and they have majorly overly regulated their cannabis industry to the point where their safes were like Fort Knox. There's different levels of safes, different code levels, and the one that we landed on was pretty significant, as you can see that door. There's nothing close to Canada. It doesn't need to be over the top, but it does need to be a safe area. There's Zach, looking really happy in his suit there. We make everybody suit up as they transition between post-harvest and the growing area for pest management reasons. He's pointing out the cannabis that's about to be shipped out of the safe, that's in a cage. So everything is always locked, and then it gets picked up by an armored truck and taken to where it's going for its final delivery. We're going to talk a little bit about revenue next, and essentially the revenue is coming. In Colorado alone, this is just a quick page on how much they believe that $29 billion is going to be generated in revenue. Currently in California, the biggest revenue that they're not getting taxed on is cannabis. But in Colorado, between 2014 and 2015, we doubled our cannabis revenue. And it's worth pointing out that the Denver Daniels College of Business found 2 marijuana businesses generated 280 jobs and $30 million for the city of Denver, a contribution of 7 times more jobs and output than the average retail store and restaurant. As of September 30th, 2015, and it is way more now. It's probably in the 40, I know the badge numbers are up to the 50s now, but approximately 25,000 people were licensed to work in the marijuana industry. Now the thing about when we're talking about jobs, I want everybody to keep in mind, is that the jobs that this industry creates isn't just jobs where you're wearing a uniform and you're growing plants and pulling leaves. The types of jobs that this industry creates are auxiliary jobs as well. So we've got we've got lawyers, we've got accountants, we've got manufacturers, we've got the construction crews, we've got the plumbers, the HVAC. I mean, we employ... The amount of people that have moved to Denver in order to get a part of what they call the green rush is incredible. And you still are in line to get a plumber. You're still in line to get an electrician. You're still in line to get an HVAC. I mean, it's just unbelievable how many jobs this industry creates. So we're going to go here, but there's nothing in stone. This is a proposal, something we'll be talking to you guys about. But we're trying to find a mutually beneficial way to get things going here. We're thinking about offering $1 per square foot for outdoor, or $1 per square foot for mixed use. We're trying to figure out ways that you guys, since you're going to be licensing us, which takes time, takes regulation, how can we help support you guys to help you get through this project and to get into this industry and to become a part of the model? And so for this first year as a pilot program, we're suggesting that we pay a licensing fee. And we're basically offering this fee money so that we can start to build an infrastructure and work together to create a cannabis industry here in Lassen County. All the annual fees are planned to go, well, being proposed, they're not planned, pardon my language there. All the proposed annual fees would go directly into the county's general fund. And so, we know that we shouldn't be able to tell Lassen County what to do with their money. Lassen County knows Lassen County. The Colorado tax structure is a lot different. We pay a small licensing fee for each license, but it's set. It doesn't matter it's a whole other world. In California, they do it by canopy space, which is a way better law than what we do. We do it by plant count. Okay, so the whole taxing thing is a little bit different. The licenses are a lot less, and then as you graduate and you can prove that you have a need for more plants, you can tier up every 6 months. So for our facility, as you can probably imagine, it took us a while to tier up to get to the plant level that we're at, which is around 50,000 plants. So we have a 2.9 sales tax, and then we've got a retail marijuana sales tax. I use the word retail, not medical. That allows patients, it's kind of like a sin tax. If you're a patient and you need the medicine, you shouldn't be given the sin tax, and so Colorado has kind of taken that approach. The retail marijuana is subject to a 15% excise tax And this is really weird. It doesn't go off the price that the cannabis is being sold at. It goes off what the average market price is. So if you're, I don't want to get too far into that. Doesn't matter. So we are coming here with a need to start quickly. We want to get going now. There's a bunch of different reasons for that. I'd love to say it's just for the revenue of the county. But in reality, it's because if we have licensing at the state level, or if we have licensing on the county level now, then it's going to give us a much better chance of getting our state licenses. The state has come out with statements saying that they do not promise licenses. If you do everything right, if you get compliant with the county, doesn't mean the state's going to necessarily say it's okay. What they're looking for, and what they've said, is that companies that are in good operation standing, companies that are operating currently, and companies that have the stamp and the seal of approval of the county are first in line to get going. And now, we're talking about type 3s right now, but this goes for all growers. Okay? The collective model is going away. It's not going to be here in 2018 if they get their act together and get all their stuff done, which they probably won't. In Colorado, everything took longer than we expected it would. But essentially, at some point in the near future, the collective model is gone. And so, you know, if you're a private grower and you've got patients, or if you're involved in a collective, no matter what size, type 1, 2, or 3, it's in your interest. And it's in the county's interest, if they want to be a part of that revenue, to get going on this now. Because the state might tell you no, once you do get going, if it's too late. And so, we are pushing for urgency. And again, there's also the obvious reasons. The bottle now, the pound price is good. And, you know, as everybody gets online, we're not the only big operators looking at California right now. We know that Humboldt and a bunch of the other northern counties are going nuts, and they're going big. And so, you know, getting in there now, being able to pay for your infrastructure, being able to become competitive, to get your standard operating procedures down, to get all these things dialed, now is important. Tax revenue examples. Jobs. So 122,000 square foot grow employs approximately 40 to 50 full-time people. We run 4-hour shift, or 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. So we try to work long days and give people 3 days off. And people love it. And it's also your 40 hours a week that you can count on. 1 acre outdoor is about 20 people plus. Now, we say that, but when it comes time to harvest outdoors, it requires a small army. And so we'll be working together to have the infrastructure to accommodate those people. And we'll be taking people way in advance to sign up for the trim positions and for the harvesting positions. The nursery, depending on what we end up doing on the outdoor side and how many plants we determine is necessary in order to meet our plant count, will determine the size of the nursery. The nursery also corresponds directly with the outdoor grow. So nursery people and people who are working in the outdoor grow will be working in the nursery during the winter. And the winter times, obviously there's less going on in the outdoor grow. But what you're doing is you're ramping up your mom plants and taking tons of clones and getting those numbers so that by the time the next year comes around, you're able to take those little plants from the nursery and take them outside. So anyway, back again to the jobs. Electric, framing, drywall, roofing, siding, plumbing, welding, fencing, dirt work, government inspections, water, fire, department, you know, there's just so many people and contractors that this industry employs. I cannot stress that enough. The past project with 200,000 square feet, anyway, we had over 300 people and our full-time employees at our grow. And again, they were happy employees, and they were employees that had direct deposit. They're employees that have benefits, both health and AFLAC. I think they have to opt into the AFLAC, but either way, AFLAC, if you get hurt, you get paid. And we also play workman's comp. And again, we create a very safe working environment, safe for the environment, safe for the employees, generally compliant and safe in general. This is a slide that we put on here to demonstrate that the banks have come around. That was the one, I keep saying it's the hardest thing. There were a lot of hard things starting off in Colorado. Now, having been in what was the world's largest facility, I'm sure there's larger ones now, you know, we were catered to by large companies, and we were sought after by people like the banks. Okay, we were able to get banks very early. Now, we have a bank here in California that's working with us. This is the kind of stuff that, you know, we'll be able to work with you guys. that are in the cannabis farming world, and we'd love to partner with you guys and really help with this because it is, again, it's just very challenging. But either way, the banks are offering us banking, which is great, payroll, point of sale, credit card, debit card, PIN processing, cash management, data analytics solutions, blah, blah, blah. Here's one of the ranges. This is what we're essentially proposing here in Lassen County. You know, it's not that scary looking. That would be one 22,000 square foot canopy range. So one range is 6 greenhouses. What that's, well, I'll show you in a second. So there's that's the head house right there. People come in, there's a locker room, break room, all that good stuff. Again, people change. The corridor in the middle there, we'll be using light dep, which is the plants are phototropic, so in order to get them to flower, you have to deprive them of light. And so using a light deprivation greenhouse with light assist, you're actually able to produce in a greenhouse all year round. The challenge, and really the thing that makes a good company in cannabis, is providing a great job for your people. And the only way to do that is to streamline it so that every day is the same. You pull down this many plants, you burn the bucket, you check the things, you do all the different stuff, you water these plants, you do that, and every day of the year, you're doing something. And we usually plan it out so for 13 days, it's the same thing, and then the 14th day is a catch-up day. And then 13 days, same thing, 14th day is a catch-up day. So streamlining the labor is extremely important, and in order to do that, that's why we do light deprivation, that's why we do indoor growing, that's why we do that kind of stuff. The air corridor, that's where all the air comes in, it's filtered through bug netting, all that kind of stuff. You see those little patches here, this is wet walls. The environment in California is way better than it is in Colorado. Growing here is much just better than it would be in Colorado. The reason for that is that Colorado gets really hot, Colorado gets really cold. And when you compare the historical highs, the historical lows, the historical averages of the two different counties, I'm from a small town in Greater Colorado, and the climates are very similar, but the extremes are just more extreme. And so working here is way more efficient. We don't have to use as much water, we don't have to use as much cooling, we don't have to use as much heating. When we actually looked into the economic feasibility of the project, we were like, whoa, this is great. This is way more efficient, and in long-term, the long-term feasibility of projects and profitability of projects, this is not a bad place to be. Even if the federal government were to legalize, there's a major competitive advantage to be here in Lassen. So this is what it looks like when everything is done. Oh, darn. So anyway, I was going to show a video of what that looks like. But as the sun's going down and the sun's coming up, the lights trigger on. We do not let light leak at night. So if it's completely dark out, we're not going to be bothering neighbors with some big glowing plantation. We're able to actually flip the curtains, which is the light deprivation curtains, and not a single bit of light is able to get in, which also means not a single bit of light is able to get out. And so even though we plan on being completely out of sight, completely out of mind, it's worth mentioning that, in the distance you won't see some sort of glowing, UFO. Why greenhouse, why outdoor? I kind of touched on that earlier. But essentially, the overall industry of marijuana consumes about 2%. And I'm sure that's going up, of the entire national energy resources, okay? If you think about how much energy that is, it's mind-boggling. The amount of energy that we're using in our large facility, our flowering alone was around 3,000 joule bulbs, and that's 1,000 watts per bulb. We did our best to recirculate all of our nutrients to have the least amount of impact, but when you're growing solely indoors, it's borderline eco-terrorism. It is a tremendous amount of resources that you're using, no matter how far you go, to be sustainable and to be caring about the environment. Greenhouses use less electricity, harnessing light from the sun is better, blah, blah, blah. What else? All right. Outdoors. This is an example of an outdoor proposal. As you can see, it's very organized, lots of room, lots of roads. The whole thing about outdoors is figuring out a clean and efficient way to harvest it. Okay? It does freeze here. It does get cold. Towards the end of the year, it gets rainy or snowy. So you've got to make sure that you streamline it. And the way to do that is to place different cultivars in different areas and in different orders so that you're able to order them by the time that the plant harvests. So you have some plants that harvest faster, some plants that harvest earlier. So you coordinate all that so that your staff and your harvesting facility is able to take a risk tolerance threshold and move through so you get all the earliest plants out later, and generally your bigger plants are the ones that come down last. They're also the ones that get the biggest. Outdoor proposals will be fully fenced with high security features. Again, security, security, security. We consult with casino security for security plans, and while I would love to present more of the different security features that we do, the first thing that the security team tells you to do is not to disclose what your security is. Sorry. Again, out of sight, out of mind. We want everybody to forget that we're here, except for the jobs and the income that we're creating. We do non-permanent structures, so we'll have shade net up, that kind of stuff. But before the winter comes, we'll take it all down. Okay, that's a big and important part of this, because if we left them up and it snows, they just break. And so that's part of what makes it an outdoor grill. The processing facility is a massive one, and again, we always have facility break rooms. All of our break rooms have ping pong and foosball, all that good stuff, which again requires room. Waste disposal. That was something that had come up with a lot of different people that we talked to, and so we thought that we'd address that here. All waste, which we try to minimize the best that we can. We try to treat cannabis like the buffalo. You can use almost every bit of it. But for the waste that's left, this isn't just going to land in a big heap of cannabis in your garbage plant here in Lassen, okay? What we do is we make it unrecognizable. We mix it with our waste, we mix it with trash, we'll mix it with dirt, we'll mix it with the soil medium or the rock pools that we're using to cultivate the cannabis. And the last project what we did is we used cocoa because it was the most sustainable way to grow without any undue environmental terrorism. So essentially there's one of the guys throwing cannabis through the wood chipper, and then it goes into a mixing thing, and then it goes into a locking bin where actually nobody can get into it. That way, if someone were to break into your parking lot or break into the bin, they're not actually able to get in there. And it hadn't happened to us, but with a lot of our contacts and friends in Denver, the most often that people were dealing with any type of crime or any type of criminal mischief in general was essentially people that were homeless trying to get in to the safety pens. And so those are all locked up. Of course, we plan on working with the building and the inspectors here in the county. We'll make sure that we follow all building codes. We're not going to burn anything down. We're not going to flood anything. We're very, very diligent about those types of things. We're protecting our investment as well as working with the county. So it's one of those things. So again, compliance is number one. Expected water use. Okay, water use is a major issue in cannabis. Okay, a lot of people blame cannabis growers for extreme water use and all these things. Well, it's a cultural situation. Okay, when there isn't a strong framework and there is no regulatory body, nobody has to tell you where they're getting their water, which means that they're taking water from places they're not supposed to take it. Okay, it's not that cannabis uses more water than other agricultural crops. In fact, it's not. That's not the case at all. When we looked into it, 1/8, which is kind of a unit measurement of cannabis, it requires 1.875 gallons of water, and it's been widely reported that producing a pound of beef requires 1,500 gallons of water. Wine uses 180 to 400 gallons of water. Almonds per nut use a gallon, and or about 100 gallons per can of nuts. Broccoli takes about 5 gallons per head, and avocado is about 75 gallons per pound. So the reason the cannabis gets such a bad rap is because of the culture of cannabis as it currently is. Cannabis uses a moderate amount of water. It's not a water sucker. But the bottom line is that if you're kind of keeping your head down and there's not a strong regulatory body, you don't have to tell anybody where you're getting your water. You just kind of go and you get it where you can. And so a lot of times people think that cannabis uses a ton of water. It just isn't the case. Our estimated use of water for a type 3 is 2,000 to 8,000 gallons a day. For a 3A, it's 10 to 14,000 gallons a day. And for a 3B, it's 10 to 18,000, and that's because of the wet walls and the evaporative cooling at the peak time of heat in the season. That would be on a 95-degree day. Energy and propane. Propane is a big part of the project. When you need to heat the facility, we generally run hot water lines underneath the plants so that it radiates heat from below. And in order to do that, we warm water with propane and then send that throughout the facility. Each greenhouse would use, in the summertime, approximately 18,000 gallons of water. Each greenhouse, when it's cold outside, the heating system would need to reproduce about 410,000 BTUs per hour, times as many ranges we have. And inside the greenhouse, 230,000 BTUs an hour. So as you can see, the total BTUs per hour are about 2,600,000 BTUs. So additionally, we do use grow lights in order to keep the photocycle. And if it's super cloudy for a week, you really want to have grow lights in order to keep your plants on their cycle and keep your regimen on point. And so essentially, that would be about 70 lights per greenhouse for a 420 light per range. That is a coincidence. And 1,600 amps are needed. Using 480 volt electric for your fans and your cooling or your heating, it's only about 200 amps, which is about what you probably have at your house. Security systems, again, cameras, recording, on and off site viewing, alarm systems response, controlled access, which is essentially all employees will be wearing a badge, and then on the back of their badge there's a second card, and second card will allow you into different areas of the building, so you can key in. It's a fob. Environmental preservation and waste mitigation plan, sanitation, generally goes down with hydrogen peroxide products, which break down into hydrogen and oxygen. Facility management is a big part of the plan, and safe waste disposal, which we discussed. Labeling, very important. We'll be compliant on all labeling. We're going to be going above and beyond what California asks at first, and eventually California will probably have some pretty strict labeling, but this is the current labeling that they have. This is what we get to do in Colorado. In Colorado, and what we're bringing here with any packaging that we do, if we do packaging individual units, essentially, it has to be childproof. Okay? Child safety has been a major subject of concern in cannabis in Colorado, and so childproof packaging has been a major, it's part of the compliance, something that we also promote. As far as, we're almost done here. Sorry. Thanks for bearing with me. The criminal justice savings is incredible. Okay, so in Colorado alone, we've been able to save a tremendous amount of money, and there's way less people being filed for marijuana possession, distribution, and cultivation. If you give people a regulatory body to live within, they'll live within it for the most part, so that they can stay out of trouble. As you can see, cultivation in Colorado fell from 10,000 cases a year to 2,000, a reduction of 80%, or 8,200 arrests. During the same time period, number of marijuana possession cases brought before the Colorado courts dropped from 8,600 to 1,400. Considering that each marijuana arrest costs roughly $300, and we estimate that Colorado has already saved millions of dollars in court costs alone by no longer bringing minor marijuana possession cases through the criminal justice system. There's a lot of people using cannabis, and if every one of them gets caught using what is, in my opinion, a safe amount of cannabis, having a nug on them or something, and then they have to go through court, it really clogs up and it congests the system. And right now, it's legal for people to have that in their possession. Sources. Teen use is down in Colorado. Again, we're all concerned about teen use. We're all concerned about teens and about children, and it becomes a lot less appealing when it's made legal. And cannabis use is for some people and not for others, and teens very much have responded by using it less, believe it or not. Pueblo, Colorado was very similar to Lassen, and another reason that we felt that Lassen was kind of an attractive place for this operation. Lassen has a huge amount of land, so that affords us the ability to kind of be out of sight and be out of mind. What happened in Pueblo, Colorado is that the average income there was very, very low. It was a very impoverished county, and the average, the economy was really struggling. And so one of the things that Pueblo did was they introduced cannabis, and they said to the big producers, come on in. And what happened was they got tremendous economic benefits from it. Okay, everybody who wanted to do a good grow went to Pueblo. There was limited water resources, so that was one of their biggest issues. So they went through the different processes to make sure that they're able to use their water. That was one of their focuses. And they were able to accommodate all the grows, because, again, they don't use as much water as people suspect. And they were able to boost the economy insanely. The land value of Pueblo now to before cannabis isn't even comparable. The economy blew up and the value of people's land went through the roof. So again, taking a look at Pueblo as an example of an economy that's been very, very, very successful as far as the economy, it's a great place to look at. The County Commissioner, Sal Pace, the chief opponent of the ballot effort, likes that his community is seen as a center for marijuana innovation nowadays. There are more than 1,300 Pueblo County jobs in the industry. And this is an old stat. And according to its own count, and Pace said there's almost $4 million in annual tax revenue that's going to college scholarships, 4-H Future Farmers in America efforts, medical marijuana research at the Colorado State Pueblo, and other areas. And the Colorado State Pueblo school is blown up because of it. Marijuana possession arrests have dropped 84% since 2010. Arrests for cultivating and distributing have dropped by more than 90%. Violent crime in Denver has gone down by 2.2% in the first 11 months of 2014, which is right after they legalized, right? Burglaries in Denver decreased by 9.5%, and overall property crime decreased by 8.9% in the first 11 months of 2014. Teen use is down 5%. This drop coincides with the rest of the regulated marijuana market. Traffic fatalities went down by 3% in 2014, according to data released by the Colorado Department of Transportation. And in 2015, industry vacancy rate had reached an all-time low. You know, and when you look at things like 2.2, 3%, 5%, you're going, oh, that's not that much. The point is they didn't go up. You know, cannabis is very misunderstood. Okay, when you smoke a joint and you get behind the wheel, which I do not recommend, and it's absolutely illegal. In Colorado, if someone suspects that you're high, they can take a blood sample, and they can determine that if you're over 5 nanograms, that you are going to get a weed DUI. Okay, and this happens to people all the time. Now, regardless, people aren't. It's not like drinking and driving, you know. So fatalities, accidents, they have not gone. This is one of my last slides. Again, I've already showed this, but I just really want to say it again and again and again. It's one of the hardest things we've ever done, one of the hardest things I've ever done in public life, but also one of the things that I'm most proud of. Hickenlooper, our governor, was a naysayer to the cannabis industry, and he's considering it one of his proudest achievements. And so as we tackle this thing together, if that's the choice that the county makes, it's not going to be easy, and there's a lot of work to do, but I think that you'll be really pleased with what comes of it. That's my presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. We're going to bring it up here to the board first for some questions and comments. And I guess the first one that I've got to make right out the gate is that you are a very good salesman, but I really got to disagree as a cattle producer that it takes 1,500 gallons to produce a pound. I'm sorry, that is wrong.
I hope so.
But anyway, so I got to...
It probably has nothing to do with the environmental production method. I don't know. It's just stats.
It does. It's comparing apples to oranges, and that's not a good comparison.
Okay.
So with that, I'll bring it back up here to the board.
Touche.
So, any board members have any questions?
Okay.
Start with Jeff.
Why Lassen County?
That's a great question. Again, bringing back to Pueblo County, the average income right now, according to Wikipedia, is $16,000 a year. Our lowest paid employee makes $27,000 a year to start with benefits. It seems like that would be an attractive benefit to the county. We've seen counties that had economies that needed economic boosts, and they've been really receptive to it. There's also environmental reasons. This is a great place to grow cannabis. The environment is hospitable. There's more water here than there is in other places. And ultimately, to be completely honest, the regulation, when you get close to the coast or when you get down to the south, you just don't want to work with those types of regulators, okay? It's a cultural thing, ultimately. We're business people, we're entrepreneurs, okay? We don't want to deal with the liberal laws and the type of regulation that goes down there. We don't want to be subject to that culture, and we don't want to be a part of that culture. I'm from Durango, Colorado. It's the exact same amount of people in that county as there is here. Well, not the exact same, but within 1,000. And this is more our culture than working in LA or working anywhere else. And when we do a feasibility for the project, we run through a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we run through a PES analysis, which is political, economic, social, and technological. And the biggest threat that we deal with in this industry, quite obviously, is political. So if we're able to be transparent, if we're able to have direct dialogues like what we have right now, and if we're able to work together, we're able to limit our political risk, and we're able to take out more loans, to go bigger, and